Hi, John. Thanks for agreeing to share an insight into your practice with me. I was hoping you could start really by telling us a bit about yourself and your work.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. Okay, I suppose the most important place for me in relation to my work would be in describing it. I would be to do with um, music and literature. I know these two subjects experience together. They kind of lead to me. It's very kind of poetic. My work in a lot of ways is in relation to this is highly, I suppose the best word would be intuitive. The power and fire of the imagination is vitally important with ultimately leads me to, I suppose, myth, the power of myth. The writer and philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche is someone I've been reading a lot lately, and he stated, "Yet, without myth, all culture loses its health and natural creative power, and that myth alone rescues all the powers of the imagination and the Apolline dream um, from its aimless wanderings." So, I suppose in a physical way, I, uh, as an artist, I have an affinity, and I suppose I feel that I need to feel attuned to nature. Um, there's a certain alchemy between the artist and nature and the creative process, um, and these ideas, thoughts, um, visions are best, I suppose, arrived at through for me. I suppose I do a lot of long walks in nature, and you know, kind of it kind of helps me to find clarity and gives me insights, and in the making, this can come from in the form of found objects, or the ready-made, or the made objects themselves, which are mostly made from clays, metals, and woods. In my last exhibit, in my last exhibit, I made a series of copper molds, and the I suppose I like to play with these, where the ready-made and the made object can cross over, and sometimes I call that I have my own special name. It's called the altered ready-made. So I split them into three categories, right? I have the made object, and then I have the ready-made, and then I have the altered ready-made. And I suppose I find this keeps the work fluid and always in a state of becoming. Um, the work a lot of the time is made very quickly, so but the process can be very slow. Okay, and I see it as in a weird way. I see this as like a kind of pregnancy, where my mind becomes pregnant with thoughts and ideas, and then it all comes out in a kind of a short burst of energy. So I suppose I need to be ready as well. And one thing is vital, that I always need to I need to journal everything, and that's a big part of how I work, because just to remember stuff is very important. Trusting my instincts as well. So my mind, in simple terms, is curious, and it gravitates towards the mysterious, and on other subjects, like the irrational, the unconscious, and the absurd, which I find always leads me to that kind of magic place of the dynamic of the paradox, and which for me can only be understood through the religious or the artistic experience. And in many ways, I'm drawn to this place of paradox. So my work is trying to attain a certain type, I suppose, I call it transcendence, from or through the experience of paradox. For the viewer, I suppose the objects or installation works could be described as a series of like points dots or a landscape. I suppose dots are, landmarks, and that brings together a type of dynamic energy, or which I call, I suppose, a poetry of objects. And I call it, that's what I call it, a poetry of objects. And the gaps, I suppose, between the objects offer a space for the viewer to imagine for themselves and draw their own interpretations, And the installation is a step. I suppose it's a setup that it is set up that way, but it opens up in the sense it's an open system. And I suppose I, the artist, have my interpretation. The viewer has theirs. And Nietzsche, he also said that there are no facts, there are only interpretation. And so, in the end, then we must draw our own. So, thank you.
Okay, John, what are you working towards at the moment? And is there somewhere where we can follow what you're doing until I can actually get into the studio and see you working in the real?
Yeah, no, the studio is always open. I'm always glad to show my work and talk about it, and that energizes me. The work I'm working on at the minute is I'm working in the copper mold kind of vein as well, and still, and the work is in relation to, I suppose it's, I'm reading more of, a lot of Nietzsche's works as well, and it's still in a process of becoming. Is a good way to describe it. I haven't really got to that place where it's, I suppose, as I said, my mind is still kind of pregnant with the new work, and it hasn't come to full fruition as yet. But sometimes I don't really know until I get there.
Okay, sure. Well, look, I look forward to actually getting to come into the studio, and maybe you can show me around and what you're working through at the moment. So, well, John, thank you.
That's great. Thank you.